You're listening to Potty Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy. The following podcast contains spoilers and rude words. We watch a thing. We watch a thing. Hello, everybody out there in podcast land, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing with Billy and Dave. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'm assuming it's Christmas because apparently there's Christmas movies.
Honestly, the last couple of weeks of October, there was already Christmas stuff in the shops. I'd walk into Kmart or Big W, there'd be bloody, the Halloween section at the front. Yeah, Halloween section at the front, and then Christmas right next to it. Absolutely ridiculous. It's too early. It's too early, mate. Yeah. But let's get into this then. Of course, Red One is a 2024 American Christmas action adventure fantasy comedy film, apparently, is all the genres listed. Directed by Jake Kasdan, who I believe, is he
Kasdan
related?
Jr.
Yeah, he is.
Son, yeah.
He sure is, yeah.
Yep. It's all about the bloody offspring milking their parents at the moment.
And
what's his name out there with Saturday Night?
And written by Chris Morgan. Now, before we move forward, do you know who Chris Morgan is?
No.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago when we recorded with the lads at the Countdown? Great episode. Go check it out if you haven't yet. Doing our top what the actual fuck moments in movies.
Funny.
Christopher McQuarrie came up, and I said, "Oh, is he the guy that wrote a bunch of Fast and Furious films?"
Oh,
no,
right.
Chris Morgan is. He's a champion. He took over the Fast and Furious franchise from 5 onwards. And so he's the one who made Fast and Furious fun again.
It's all his fault. I can see how this is going to go now. I'm assuming you're a 9 out of 10 on Red One.
Well, it stars, of course, Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, Lucy Liu, Bonnie Hunt, Nick Kroll, and J.K. Simmons. And what is it about, mate?
It's that age-old tale of a kid who doesn't believe in Santa, who grows up to be the world's greatest criminal bounty hunter.
Yeah,
who is apparently, despite presumably charging millions per gig, living in a bathtub, and is engaged to track. From what he understands, an arms dealer hiding in the middle of the North Pole, which he does, little knowing that he has led the Winter Witch to find Santa Claus and kidnap him.
Yeah. And
then Santa's minions then counter-employ Chris Evans, a.k.a. The Wolf.
The Wolf. To help find and
Santa
save
again.
Santa. Yep.
And various things happen along the way.
Let's get straight into it. So I remember, it must have been last week when we were talking about doing this on the show. You said the trailer looked awful. I have not actually seen a trailer for this film.
Well, no, weirdly, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I thought I said the trailer doesn't look bad. But it's going to be shit.
Maybe that's what you said, yeah.
It's got The Rock. It's a fucking Christmas caper.
Yeah.
It's going to be shit.
Yeah.
And call me Nostradamus.
Okay, so that's you showing your card then. You think this movie's just absolute shit?
It's pretty trash, yeah. There were moments I enjoyed.
I'm assuming you know this, but have you heard what the word on the budget of this film is?
The fucking 200 million or something.
250.
Where the fuck did it go? Because the CG looks god awful.
I'll tell you what the word on the street is, and I don't know.
Went to The Rock.
Well, yeah, but not in the way you're thinking. Yes, The Rock got 50 up front, but apparently he was just so unprofessional. I don't know what the story is, but word on the street is that he was showing up 6 to 7 hours late, or sometimes not at all. And so that's how the budget just ballooned. The budget, they had to add 50 million just on lost time for The Rock. So I don't know how true that is.
fuckwit.
See, because past stories about The Rock have been, I don't know if you heard these stories, but supposedly he pisses in water bottles on set because he doesn't want to waste time going to the toilet. And I
think that's like 10 years ago. I think he has progressively gotten more and more kind of full of himself. And I mean, it's all scuttlebutt. None of us know him.
Yeah.
But kind of from what I've read, he's a bit of a prima donna. He really thinks he's the biggest thing. I mean, we know from fucking Black Adam.
Yeah.
He demanded.
Fight, surely
fuck comic accuracy. Fuck the source material.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting fucking Shazam. No one knows who he is. I'm fighting Superman. Surely
this off the back of Black Adam, this is the death knell in The Rock's film career. Like, he is no longer going to be at the point.
1 or 2 round the corner. He's still making bank.
Surely he can no longer be at the point where he can demand 50 mil for a film, because this is absolutely going to flop hard. This movie's not making its budget back.
Oh God, no. No. Oh, hell no.
Look, I didn't hate this movie. I don't think it's brilliant.
It's not my worst of the year by a long shot.
No.
But it's not a good film.
No.
And when you weigh it up against how much it cost,
yes,
it's offensively bad.
My biggest problem with this film is that you've got the writer of the best of the Fast and the Furious franchise, the one who made it fun, and this movie's just not enough fun. Like, there is very little fun to be had. It's not really a romp. You've got, Chris Evans is extremely charismatic. The Rock at least used to be, and yet neither of them.
He is, as he has for the last, however, other than Frozen, I can't remember the last time he's actually been charismatic since Baywatch. And I will defend Baywatch.
Yeah, same. I'm a big Baywatch fan. Yeah,
but he is sleepwalking through this. He doesn't give a shit. He's got his 50 mil or whatever.
The best part of this film. The best part of this film is J.K. Simmons as Jack Santa, who sadly is not.
So good.
He's sadly not in it enough because he spends most of the film being kidnapped in a glass ball.
Most of it unconscious.
Yeah, but he hands down is the best thing about this film, because he is where the film becomes inventive. We all know Santa. We've all seen Santa. The idea of Santa being J.K. fucking Simmons, and even
ripped, because J.K.
ripped
let's face
as
it,
shit.
the last 10 years. He is the most ripped fucking septuagenarian or whatever he is.
Yeah. And
he is. Whoa.
And they don't, he doesn't have the beard. He doesn't have the, glasses. Like, when you think of Santa, you're not picturing J.K. Simmons. And the movie's like, no, this is Santa. And even to the point where, he visits actual shopping malls. Like, I think that this is what annoys me, is that I think the concepts are here. There's a lot of potential. And, the word is that Amazon obviously were trying to launch this into a bit of a Christmas franchise. And I can't see that happening at this point. But the potential was absolutely there, and I just don't know where it went wrong. And again, I don't think this is a bad movie. I think it's a fine time at the cinemas, but it's not going to be a Christmas classic. I'm not going to rewatch this next year.
Oh, Christ, no. I will never watch this again. And that includes, I might have to watch it with the kids, but I'll try not to. But the thing that I've kept feeling through this whole thing is there's elements of a really cool film here. If it had either, it either needed to lean more, just be a complete kids film and be really silly and have lots of, silly jokes and japes and things, I would have probably hated it, but it could have been an awesome kids film. I don't think it's that. Yeah. I think it's trying.
It's in a weird place, right? That's what I kind of think too.
To attract adults as well with, Chris Evans, for all the faults of this film, I thought Chris Evans was fine. I thought he was he showed some charisma. He had some good jokes. He was fun.
Except that here's my biggest problem with Chris Evans, right? I agree. I like Chris Evans. I think that look, here's the thing. He is so much of a cunt in this film that after the first half hour, he kind of becomes irredeemable. And the film tries to redeem him anyway. but he is a very, very, very bad person.
Yeah,
like he's not just a naughty list person. Like, it's bad enough that he's doing all the opening scene, which is meant to be fun, of him setting shit on fire and like
steals a lollipop from a baby.
He literally. That's the thing. That's where it goes the bridge too far. The opening scene, I think, he's bad. He's clearly doing bad stuff, but you can kind of forgive it. Then, for no reason, he steals candy from a baby, and it goes too far. And then the film really makes a point about this guy just does absolutely not give a shit about his kid at all. Like, he does not give a shit about this kid. And
I think, the writing is objectively terrible.
Yeah.
The arcs are all, there's no balance. They're really badly done. You're quite right. The candy from a baby didn't bother me. I thought that was quite funny.
Oh, I just think he becomes so demonstrably evil in that first 20 minutes. The idea there's no chance to redeem him.
Well, the ultimate weapon, the thing that they're all terrified of, this fucking snow globe that traps you for eternity alone in the cold, in the dark.
Yeah, only lasts for about 35 seconds.
All he has to do is say, "Sorry, I've been a bad dad," and the thing fucking shatters. That's as much good as you need to do to break out of the ultimate fucking weapon.
Yeah, I'm willing to forgive that, because that's a bit of Christmas magic.
No, that was the worst piece of shit in the entire film, apart from where they almost go into a musical number, but thankfully don't.
What musical number are you talking about?
Oh, well, they don't have one, but I thought they were going to. It's like the music starts, they're about, and then I can't remember what happens though. A baddie arrives or something, and the music going kind of is almost like a needle scratch. It's like, and it stops.
Right. Yeah.
No, the worst scene in the film is Nick Kroll, who is the least funny man on the planet. Why you would ever put him in a comedy is beyond me. He is the death of comedy. We know that from when he tried to do History of the World Part 2. That scene of him on the beach, possessed, talking in a scary voice with these ridiculous facial was interminable. It felt like it went for 30 minutes. It was not funny. It almost made me walk out of the cinema. I
didn't hate it, and I didn't mind the
so
action sequence that followed the fight with the snowmen. I thought that was,
apart from the terrible CG, it was absolutely fine.
But you did just say about that scene feeling 30 minutes long, and I think that again the length is a problem with this film.
Oh my god, this goes fucking ever.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is, the thing that was getting me through it was I was enjoying Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't enjoying anyone. Lucy Liu's fine, but she's doing fuck all. She may as well not be there. Could be anyone. Kiernan Shipka, I think, was doing fucking great work. She was the MVP of the film as Grilla or whatever, the witch.
Yeah.
And then right when you get to kind of when shit's about to happen, they piss her off and give you a giant CG Baba Yaga fucking stupid looking witch that, 250 million. Fucking where? Jesus Christ. I don't even own Maya, and I reckon I could do better 3D animation. It's fucking terrible.
I genuinely didn't hate this movie. I think it's fun enough, is what I'll say about it. I think it's got enough of the Christmas magic in there that, but I mean, clearly the studio, I don't understand what their game is. If they wanted this to launch a franchise, I don't know whether they've accepted that's not happening, because why release this so early? Like, it's not uncommon for Christmas movies to come out in November, but usually it's Thanksgiving. Like, you wait until the end of the month. Like, we are so far out from Christmas now. They clearly had no faith in this, right? This is going to be out of cinemas before December. Like, this isn't going to last until December.
This will be lucky to do 2 or 3 weeks. No one is going to see this when word of the mouth gets out.
I mean, honestly, who knows? Maybe that's part of their game plan. Maybe their game plan was release it in cinemas early so that it can hit streaming for Christmas month. Because
they're expecting to do more on Blu-rays for Christmas than they would at box office?
I think streaming. Like, it's an Amazon film. I think obviously it's going to hit Prime. I think that their plan is that this will be a bit of a streaming hit through the month of December. But I mean, what kind of? Why would you spend exactly? What kind of budget is that?
Wow, yeah, that's insane. And when you consider that, I mean, this is a cold film. I didn't have an emotional beat. Like, none of Chris Evans' arc with his son registered. The only brief moment of any sort of emotion was when Dwayne's character rescinds his resignation.
That's what I was going to say. That was I agree.
JK acts the shit out of that scene.
I agree
as much as anyone could.
I think that the relationship between The Rock and Santa is a much bigger emotional throughhold than Chris Evans and his kid. I couldn't give a shit about them. So yeah, look, I didn't hate this movie.
250 million from memory. Polar Express cost about 100 million less than that. And it has 10 times the emotion, 10 times the quality in the animation and CG, and it's how long ago is Polar Express? 15 years or something?
Yeah, it was early 2000s. Yeah.
And it looks better than this, and it costs less. I mean, it's a different time, I suppose, so it probably costs similar. But I mean, if I'm going to watch any sort of CG fest for Christmas, it's not going to be this one.
Well, let me ask you this, because just earlier you said you'll never watch this again, and then you kind of backtracked and said, I'll probably watch it with the kids. Do you, firstly...
I'll doze.
I have several questions. Firstly, do you really think you'll watch it with the kids? Secondly, will it be at the cinemas, or will you wait for streaming?
Oh, fuck, I'm not paying for it.
And thirdly, do you think that they'll enjoy it?
The boy will. Aiden will like it because it's got fucking Krampus, and I mean... I did like the fact that the reindeer were the size of houses. I thought that was a cool touch. Yeah. There's monster snowmen. He'll probably dig it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, if it wasn't so long, I would take them to the cinema. But I know already that my youngest is going to get bored. I
will not pay to take them to this. It doesn't warrant
my eldest, who's over 10. I'm sure that she'll enjoy it, but my 6-year-old will be wanting to leave by halfway through this film. It's too long, and she doesn't know anything about Krampus, or like, it's not, So I don't think it's a huge success, even as a family film, is what I'm getting at.
It has no market.
I'm a 5 out of 10. To me, it was just completely average. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I had a fine enough time at the cinema, but it's not. I wouldn't strongly recommend this.
It's forgettable.
Yeah.
If I hit one word review, I'm just tossing up whether I'm a 5 or if I don't think it's a pass. I'll give it a 5 just for JK and Kiernan because I love them so much. But realistically, it should probably be a 4.5. It's not good. Don't spend your money. Wait for streaming. As Billy said, it's going to be on streaming before Christmas. You don't need to support this in cinemas because they might make another one.
Oh, honestly, the thing is, I'd be up for another one if they focused more on JK. If this became more of a Santa focus.
You know what gets me? I mean, I kind of I like to rag on what's his name? Ghostbusters Afterlife, etc.
Jason Reitman.
Jason Reitman, because I think he's a shit filmmaker, and
I've liked a lot of Reitman stuff. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I love Juno. I love Thank You for Smoking. I loved Tully. I like a lot of Reitman's work.
I haven't seen Tully.
I mean, penned by Diablo Cody. Yeah,
but yeah, see, there you go. It was an unbreakable script.
Yeah.
Where he's left unfettered and he is in charge of things, that's when you get the 2 shit Ghostbusters movies, which were both fucking god-awful. And he is a Nepo baby coasting on his father's. Jake Kasdan, complete opposite. I have loved his work. He is... I didn't even know he was Lawrence Kasdan's kid. I loved Orange County. I loved the 2 Jumanji films.
Love Orange County.
He is a genuinely talented filmmaker who has been doing his own thing. How? Why? Why do we have Red One? I don't understand. If
See,
this was
but
this was Jason
here's my
Reitman,
thing.
the world would make sense.
Here's my thing. I am convinced. I am certain, 100% certain, that this is not the film that was written. I do not believe that this is the script that Chris Morgan turned in. Because, look, you might not like the Fast and Furious films. A lot of people don't like them. But what you cannot deny is how much they lean into the fun. And I think that there are moments where you can see this starting to get there, and it just never does. I do not think for a second that this is the film that we were meant to get.
I'm reading between the lines. I think I'm stitching together the breadcrumbs that you've laid out there. So what you're saying, and I think I'm right here, is that instead of The Rock, what this film needed
was Diesel.
As both star and producer is Vin Diesel.
We needed a bit of Diesel action in this film.
We needed someone in there taking it seriously like it's Citizen Kane while everyone else was leaning into the fun.
Yes.
Because that's the kind of magic source of the things that you seem to love. Yeah?
Yes.
Good. All right, we're there. We're good.
All right. Well, there you go. Let's move it along. Another film that I saw this week, which unfortunately you did not get to, because here in Australia we're not getting it until a month after the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But it came out everywhere else in the world this week, and I did get to an advanced screening. I'm talking about Heretic, which I know we've both been extremely keen for, and I'm sorry that you haven't gotten to it yet. A 2024 American psychological horror film written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. It stars, of course, Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East, and pretty much only those three. And it follows the story of these two young Mormon girls who are door knocking, selling the word of Jesus, and they get invited inside Hugh Grant's house, and shit goes south. Now, I was super keen for this movie, but believe it or not, even more keen than me was Noosk, who, if listeners might know that she does not like horror. But we had date night last week, and we were going to go see Saturday Night because you and I had spoken about doing it on the show. She's keen on that as well because we're both, fairly religious SNL watchers. And it was her who, when she was looking at movie times, went, "Oh my God, there's an advanced screening of Heretic. That's what we're seeing."
Wow.
Yeah, because she'd seen the trailer and Hugh Grant crushes it in that trailer. So, and look, honestly, I'm on the side of the fence that thinks that the movie lives up to the trailer. I really enjoyed this movie. Noosk might have enjoyed it even more than me. I have seen a small subset who think the movie falls apart in the final act. And I will say that I can understand that criticism. But for me, I was there and sold the entire way. This is Hugh Grant's best performance ever. And it's easy to say he steals the film.
Paddington 2.
Yeah, yes. It's easy to say that he steals the film, but the performances of the two girls are amazing as well.
I've heard that
and
too, yeah.
The majority of the film is just the three of them. There is one character that has a little bit of a side plot much later in the film. You're talking maybe 3 to 4 minutes of screen time, but predominantly this plays out.
My understanding is it's not a single room, but the trailer certainly makes it feel like a play.
And it does. There are huge, 15-minute scenes in single rooms. It's predominantly all set inside Hugh Grant's house. The dialogue is so wonderfully written, from all the not just Hugh Grant, who has some wonderful kind of monologues about religion, and there's this wonderful scene where he's comparing religion to board games, and he's like, did you know that Monopoly, the best selling board game of all time, Christianity, is just a rip-off of the landlord's game, and it's this wonderful scene that goes for about 10 minutes of just dialogue and him whipping out all these different board games. But it's just so well written. I loved it. I wouldn't call it a horror. I would call it more of a thriller film.
Psychological thriller is certainly what it seems to be.
Yeah,
I gather it kind of leans a little bit more into horror in the final act.
Maybe.
You don't have to say
I don't want to spoil much, but I would say I wouldn't even use the psychological horror tag. I think this is, because you see the A24 label and you expect that you're in for something kind of really out there. I wouldn't say that this is. I think that this is a fairly straightforward film. There's not a huge amount of twists and turns that take place. But I can't recommend this film enough. I think that what I will say is that it's not my favorite religious horror of the year, because that still goes to Immaculate.
It didn't have Sydney Sweeney in it.
But I'm super high on this film.
I was kind of brought to mind in the trailer more than any horror was Sleuth.
I haven't seen Sleuth.
There's two versions of it. The best is the original, which is Laurence Olivier's and I'm casting my mind back. Please don't slay me online if I fuck up any of the plot details. I think he's like a mystery, like a whodunit novelist, kind of like Knives Out, really famous whodunit. And his wife has been having an affair with a very young Michael Caine. Okay. And he invites Michael Caine to the house, who is, I think unaware that he knows. And it's this kind of verbal cat and mouse for most of the film before you get a little bit of action at the end. But it's got, who knows? Does he know? Oh, it's all. I think Joe Mankiewicz, directed it. I'm not sure if he wrote it. I feel like I should know. I feel like the writer is someone very famous, and I'm stupidly forgetting who it is. But it's all very, very cleverly written dialogue and kind of not knowing who knows what the whole time and when are they going to find out and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It got remade some years later with Michael Caine then taking the older role.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Jude Law, I think, took over the role of the young guy.
Yeah.
And they're both great, but the original 70s one, the Joe Mankiewicz one, it's a phenomenal. You would love it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all this clever. It's is it Anthony Schafer? It's written by some super, Tom Stoppard, Anthony Schafer, one of those super highly regarded playwrights, and it may have even started as a stage production. I don't know.
Yeah, nice.
But it's all whip smart dialogue and mystery, and that's what I got from the trailer rather than a horror film.
You're getting the right thing. One thing that maybe I haven't highlighted enough is that this film is a lot of fun. Like it's a fun film. The dialogue is very funny and smart, and there are moments of tension where you're on the edge of your seat, but I think that it's a really cohesive movie. And if people have seen the trailer, and people are going to be split into two camps. People are going to see the trailer, see A24 horror, and they're going to be, I'm all in on that. But if
elevated horror, I do love elevated horror.
Yes, but if you've been avoiding it because you don't like #elevated horror because it's a bit of a wank, this film is not that. I think that this movie is much more in line with, say, the fun of Ready or Not than it is something like Hereditary or Midsommar. So, but I'm a 8 or 9 out of 10. I want to see it again.
Woof.
But nice. I really, really enjoyed this film. So I can't wait for you to see it and to chat, to hear what you think about it. So, but there you go.
I will, like the rest, everyone else who missed these magical advanced screenings, I will be waiting until the 28th,
I think, which is ridiculous.
The day after my birthday.
It's come out, around the rest of the world this week. So
yeah,
that's a shame. All right, but thank you for joining us here.
This is the #rest of the world that are getting Nosferatu before the end of this year.
Don't we get it on Christmas Day?
January 1st in Australia is the new release date.
Oh, man, I thought we got it Christmas Day.
Negatory, good buddy, negatory.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Well, next week we are getting Gladiator 2, which I have to ask, are you excited for, Dave?
I feel like I should be.
I don't know, man.
But it's a long time since I've seen a genuinely great Ridley Scott film.
And I have not seen Gladiator since the cinemas, and I don't remember having a great amount of love for it. I'm sure it's good.
It's like a 4 out of 5. It's a really solid film. I'm struggling to think of a film since Gladiator of his that I think is really great.
Yeah.
Last Duel was mediocre at best.
I
It was
liked The
bad.
Last Duel, actually.
Badly written. It was badly written.
I actually liked
It was
The Last
beautifully
Duel.
directed, but between the Affleck, Damon, and him, the writing was completely unbalanced. Where it should have been two conflicting versions, and then the final version in the middle telling the truth. The final version was almost identical to Adam Driver's version. It completely missed the brief on what it was supposed to be.
I think Dave's a bit harsh on it. I liked that movie.
No. 3.5 out of 5. If that.
Well, thank you for joining us here at We Watched a Thing. We'll catch you next week with Gladiator 2.
Matchstick Men.
And I can't wait to hear how much Dave hates it. In the meantime, if you're in the Christmas spirit, go watch Red One. Heaps of fun. We loved it.
No, don't do that. Go and watch Polar Express or It's a Wonderful Life and fuck Red One.
Actually, this movie just made me want to go rewatch It's a Wonderful Life. That's what I think I'm going to do after this. So,
Yep.
Thank you for joining us here at We Watched a Thing, and we will catch you next week.
See ya.